Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the On Time on Target morning brief on Monday, October 5th. Casual Monday for me. Hopefully it's a casual Monday for you as well. All right, we're going to invest with military precision. Make sure you have your Q&A window set up. Talking to everybody there, both panelists and attendees, and make sure you're using the call sign. If you're catching us on replay, thanks for checking us out. You can join us for $25 a month. Go to ototnow.com for more information and reach out to me specifically if you want a free trial to check us out. All right, our mission objectives this morning: we're going to grow our money, protect our money, and live off our money. Our topic of the day at personal request by the Predator. Good morning. Chinese stocks, and I threw the kicker on there, President Biden. So let's talk about Chinese stocks. Obviously, that's a grow our money thesis. There's a lot of risk there, so we're not protecting or living off of it. We're trying to grow it. So when we think of a whole basket of Chinese stocks, how safe are they going into this election? How do you want to play it? All of that, I will give you my take today. Our question of the day is not related to that. It's more related onto the live off our money, which is the dividend payout ratio, which is an interesting, of all the ratios we look at, like on FinViz, it's one of the more interesting ones out there. So we're going to take a look at that. That kind of lets you know how safe a dividend is, which is what you should be looking at if you are trying to live off your money. All right, our tactical objectives for today, we are talking about those. Our flow, going to be long, short, open, short, long. We're talking about long-term investing stuff, a lot to process from the weekend. We'll talk about the markets around the world, and then we're going to go into the headlines of the day that are mostly dominated by, is the president going to be released from Walter Reed today? We shall see. Obviously, he went on a joyride last night, so that's a interesting move that's obviously going to bring a lot of cheering as well as hate, depending on what side you're on, for him doing that. But whatever, we shall see how it all plays out today. There's the 6 names we're going to look at for the long-term investments. All are names that we've talked about in here before. It's been a while on a few of them, so we'll refresh those and take a look. All right, for our short-term day trading execution, those are our numbers from last week, so up 5R, so pretty good week. We were down 2R on Thursday, and we didn't trade it all on Friday. I will tell you today, there's only a handful of names that I like that are on my list that qualify. Mondays and Fridays are kind of the off, lower volume type days as people get warmed up back in from the weekend, and of course exiting early for the weekend sometimes on Friday. So we'll see. But we'll start the count over this Monday. Be ready to go. I am with my account open, so we shall see if I can execute the calling the trade and also taking the trade at the same time. All right, we'll execute the market open. We'll handle all your questions out there, including the question of the day, and we'll wrap things up. Contingencies. All right. If you are having any issues, reach out to me at steve@otot.com and we'll have get those resolved right away. And the standard disclaimer applies. This is an educational presentation only. You have to do your own due diligence before you act on anything you hear this morning. All right, let's go up to see where we are in the market. Remember, Friday was kind of that big down day because of the presidential diagnosis. But when you look at it, didn't move down that whole lot. Really, there's a couple articles out now saying that we are, you'll see it on CNBC, coiled for the next move up or down. I would say they're calling up, but 320 to 340, we've been in this for almost a month in that range. Again, my call is down here at the election time frame. We'll be down to 300 to 320. So far, that has not happened. So maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's going to hold out in here. What you do know from trading, though, is that when markets go sideways for a while, they tend to have a big move up or down. You don't know which one, but they tend to break out one way or the other. So that's really what traders are starting to talk about. We shall see. Futures are up today. Good news story. President's probably back in the chair by this afternoon is what I think is being priced into the market. And we shall see. All right, let's look at the last 5 days. Here was Friday's gap down Thursday night. That's when you had the move, and then kind of a move up on Friday. So it ended up being a green candlestick. Sold off into the after hours, big gap up, and then obviously moving higher as well. As far as the calendar, only one set of earnings out afterwards, and that's a Predictive Technology Group. They are a pretty small player, but they do play into some of the self-driving AI data scenario investment thesis we've been talking about. So we'll talk about them tomorrow morning when we see what happens. All right, preview into the trading. We're looking at XPEV. Again, we'll talk about these in a minute, but if you want to get your chart set up and you can see what I'm looking at, XPEV long, that's, let's see how you say it, XPing Motors. If you were on early, you saw a drone, a flying car that resembles a drone. We'll come back to that. Looking at these guys, long room to run higher. AMC selling off hard. We'll talk about that in the headlines. And then DPW also would be a short. So that's a little preview as to what we'll be talking about in a minute. All right, let's come down to CNBC and take a look at those headlines. There's the flying car that I was talking about. Pretty cool. We'll come back to that here in a minute. All right, going around the world, there are futures up a couple hundred points, so pretty good. Europe is up across the board. You see entirely red there. Asia pretty much across the board is up over 1%, except for China, barely in the red. Here are our numbers from Friday. Again, pretty sizable move down overall off of the news. And then the VIX did, excuse me, spike there up to 28. Bonds have moved incrementally higher. We're kind of established above that 0.732 level, which is kind of nice. Oil made a move higher, but not back up in that 40 to 60 range. And then gold again around 1900 or so. You can, I think we're going to see this rise if you were to trade something or swing trade, meaning holding overnight up to, you know, a few weeks. Gold going into the election, you could give that a shot if you want to. I'm not going to do it personally, but I wouldn't have a problem if anybody did. I see, yeah, Predator's comment, flying cars, airlines cutting routes. Oh boy, that's a little bit of a stretch. But I will say that Elon Musk, one of the reasons he did the Boring Company, B-O-R-I-N-G, meaning digging holes, not yawns, but as he said, that traffic in the United States specifically and in bigger cities needs to either move up or down. Needs to get out of the 2D playing field because that's too much traffic. So, and he says, he contends it's easier to go down into the tunnel, you know, into tunnels and boring holes and sort of thing, you know, subways, but think of that on steroids versus actually trying to go higher because you run into all kinds of issues when you're flying, right? So, all right, let's look at some headlines out there. All right, here's your tension release that it's talking about. That's that sideways market. I don't put a lot into that personally, but we shall see. Regeneron up 5% on the president taking one of their drugs. We'll put that down on the watch list for today. Not a real tradable event, if you will. There's lots of talk about where did actually Trump pick up the virus, and when did he get it from? Hope Hicks, if that's who he got it from, and what they knew at the Thursday fundraiser. So realize that's going to dominate most of the headlines today. So, all right. Yeah, I see your comment there, Predator. We are almost there because this is what's moving AMC down. And when I talked about shorting AMC, American Movie Company, I think. Maybe I'm wrong there. I have to look that up. AMC, we know, is the theater company. Regardless of what the letters stand for, put it in the chat if you see it. But yes, Cineworld brings down the curtain on US, UK theaters, 45,000 jobs. So basically they rolled over, if you will. So if they're rolling over, then you're going to see companies like AMC subsequently roll over. All right, Predators chiming in. Saw a movie last week, thought it was horrible. Regal shutting down. So yeah. 18 a month Regal pass. It's like, you know, all done with that. Well, I think, and you know, as you sit at home and we watch content on Netflix, the only thing that kind of doesn't seem fully figured out yet is the navigating all of it, right? So it's not necessarily what is the one movie I want to see on. It's, if you go to Netflix, you might see it for $15, but it's free on Amazon, and there's nothing, I don't know. If there's a clearinghouse website that's out there doing that, then I think that would make a lot of money. I would pay $1 or $2 just to have somebody be able to tell me what's what as far as the different, you know, where it's streaming for free, that sort of thing. Because I think I have all of them. I don't know anymore. But a lot of stuff streaming in. It all beats going to the movies like once a month because of the price points a lot lower. So, All right, let's see. DraftKings in the news did a secondary offering. You know I hate that. I love DraftKings, but they're getting greedy now. So either 16 million or 32 million shares. I saw two sources. So I don't know. We'll see. That's going to hit the stock a little bit to the tune of 5%. Starbucks got an upgrade. New York still running some issues. Jim Cramer said he shut down his restaurant. So, or restaurants, I think he has more than one. Finally cried uncle and said he's not even going to try anymore until this thing passes, which is interesting because, we're 7 months into this thing is when he finally cries uncle. So we're not really coming out of this thing as much as we kind of thought. All right, stimulus. We're going to talk a lot about Trump today, and then we're going to talk mostly stimulus. I think for the rest of the week is going to be the headline that takes the cake there. So we shall see as far as if we get it done. I think we do get something out and passed this week, if you will. All right, let's switch over to our long-term investing. We're going to talk about Alibaba first. So again, Chinese stocks and President Biden. Well, if you think Biden's going to get elected and you want to position your portfolio for that, then yes, you can start moving into the Chinese stocks now, because those are clearly going to benefit. Less of an emphasis on calling China out on the table and their business practices and things. So they will be poised to go higher. Also, there's going to be a money flow, I think, situation as U.S. taxes go up. I think you will start to see some investing money start to go back overseas. When you look at, if you have your portfolio with me, you'll see that we've been fairly U.S. centric. I'm not sure I can stay as U.S. centric as I have been if Biden gets elected. It really depends on how, what kind of tax code he puts out there. So a lot of unknowns at this point. But if you want to position yourself, we can start buying up Chinese stocks for you. If you hit me up for that, I will kind of go grumble and buy for you. But it's not where I'm putting my money yet. Alibaba is always a good answer. You can see the strength of it. It doesn't care. It's a little honey badger of the China market, if you will. No dividend. Not too overvalued. And again, it's basically the Chinese Amazon. They've copied a lot of the business practices of Amazon. I think they're actually bigger than Amazon, if I remember right. Making money, continue to make money. Not too many people betting against it here in the short float. So pretty good place to have some capital. What's a good entry point? I don't know. This is one of these you kind of just have to close your eyes and buy somewhere along the line. Now, if we get a big hit or a Trump presidency, I think, you're looking 280, probably go south of 260, maybe to 240 as he releases his new, how he's going to take it to China. We'll see. That would be your secondary entry point on a big hit like that. All right. AMC, American Multi-Cinema. I could have guessed till the end of time, and I would have not have come up with those three particular words. So thank you for Predator for being awake and putting that into the chat. All right. Alibaba is also a part, let's see, so I get Alibaba backed. So I don't know how much it's backed, but XPeng Motors, which is going to be our long for today, XPEV, if you want to take a look. They released solid numbers this weekend as far as the percentage of cars that they're making, and good news story. So they're up that 5 to 10%, and we're looking to take them higher on the US market. So there's a picture of their flying car. My aviation background, so I do kind of understand the complexities when people say things like drone delivery and flying cars. It's like, well, okay, I hear you. And in theory, yes, absolutely. In reality, what does that mean as far as deconfliction? Well, you could come up with an entire highway structure that resides, 100 feet, 150, 200 feet, whatever you think is the safe distance. You could come up with the structure. That there's no doubt. That literally could take an afternoon. It's the on-ramp and off-ramp, and how do I enter that structure? How do I transition from one? Can I drive my car and then now sprout wings when I see traffic coming and go higher? Problems with that. So that's the complexity of it. Or once you enter this, do you enter it and then now you're stuck in it? But then again, things don't do well when they, stuck in traffic. And what is one thing, stuck in the air is obviously a temporary thing, because out of gas, big problems. You're going down no matter what you vote. So I don't know. There's a lot to unpack here, but certainly if you put a cool picture out and start making a lot of them, people will buy them. Making money. Kind of looks like a little, to me, it looks like a Tesla. I'm sure they don't have a Tesla in their Xpeng picture, but maybe a Tesla knockoff back up here. So, all right, that is enough on Xpeng. Let's take a look at the, get out of this right here. We're going to go over to the Schwab Big Board and look at the other Chinese names. This is, again, where you can put money in Chinese stocks right now, assuming a Biden presidency. So Alibaba, we already talked about, again, kicking butt right along the way. This is the Chinese Amazon. IQ is the Chinese Netflix. It has been up and down. You may remember I entered this stock somewhere in the teens way back in the day, and it touched 50. So you got to go back in time. It touched 50 and then came kind of crashing back down when it couldn't put up the same numbers that Netflix was. And the idea was, if you know how China's based, it's kind of heavy populated cities, and then you have these thousands of miles of remote area, and there's lots of people out there. They weren't really, this was supposed to, get IQ into your hut, right? Out in the middle of Manchuria or wherever. It didn't really go down like that. A lot of connectivity, internet issues, sort of things that it's assuming an infrastructure that isn't necessarily in place yet. So I think it's a good long-term play. I don't even mind it here in the low 20s. I just think it's going to get hit if Trump gets elected. So Biden presidency, put your money in now. That'd be fine. YY is kind of the Facebook of China. Obviously, Facebook crushes it from selling ads. Over here, all of these sell ads over in China. If you've ever been go to Alibaba's website and be prepared for the pop-up Olympics. So just get ready for it. But this would be the way to play it. Not super big fan of YY myself. I don't put my own money in it, but it's there, and I can't say that it's not a good place. Baidu is it's BAIDU, is really the Chinese Google. So their big search engine out there, again, making money on ads. That's fine. I like that better than YY personally, but we shall see. Luckin, is a favorite. I think it's completely undervalued. It's the Chinese Starbucks. They told some lies and fibs and got their knuckles cracked by both the U.S. markets by delisting. That's why it's a 5-letter ticker instead of the old 2-letter ticker, and also got crushed at home. But they did. They've been found guilty, charged, and were fined $9 million, which is literally a drop in the bucket for a company that size. So they've been on a road to recovery. You can still buy in here. Most of us, if you're online here this morning, if you have it with me, you have a price point in the low 2s. There's a couple of folks that have it down in the 1 point teens with a huge buy that I was snagged here. It's going higher. It's already creeping higher pre-market with the low volume sort of thing. So not a bad place to put some money. People ask, like, when are you going to sell Luckin? Now that we've kind of doubled or even tripled off the exact low. It's like, I don't know, call me when it's at 20. People don't like that answer. Now, we may sell some shares along the way just to be prudent, back out some capital, take some gains. But for the most part, kind of like DraftKings, it's just like once you've taken some gains, the rest of it is going to run. All right, last one, talk about Tencent Holdings. It's not really an American anything. If you were trying to compare it to Berkshire Hathaway, that'd be a terrible comparison. Only in the fact that it's a holding company, so it has its hands in a lot of different things. However, it's a lot of different high-risk things. Gaming is one of them. So that's why I do like Tencent. You've heard me talk fondly of it over the years. It kind of came into my portfolio based off of Fortnite. Epic Games made Fortnite. Tencent bought 40% of Epic Games. I said, I'm buying that because all the kids are paying 50 cents for skins. And I'm like, I'd like to collect some of that because that's dumb money. But you can see it's got a pretty high price point. It's involved in basically everything sexy in the gaming world. So you don't really get much of an entry. If Trump would get elected and this drops down to 50 again, I would buy. Other than that, I just have to admit that I missed it and move on. All right, let's switch over to some day trading stuff and put our day trading hats on. The first long we'll take a look at is my favorite long from this morning, which is that Jinping, if I'm saying that correctly, XPEV. You see it's got almost 1 million shares of volume. It's closed at 18. It's gapping up to 19.58. You can see from this chart, which is what, that 25 days or so. It was up here back at the end of August. So can it scream higher? Yes, it can. I do believe. This is my number one long. The markets are going long. It's tough to short into such a strong day. So this is what I have. You can set up for your long there. We'll look at as it gets closer, but probably a 50 cent, maybe 60 cent stop. So larger than I would want. So does that mean, does it have $1.50 or $1.80 move up? It does. I'd like a better entry if I can get one, but we shall see. All right. Other longs out there. JELD got an upgrade, and I don't know what it is. JELD-WIN Holdings, low volume, so that's off. All right. Regeneron's another name we're going to take a look at, gapping up just because of the president using their treatments, if you will. So it's gapping up. Let's see if we can find it over here to see 128,000. No, that's not going to show up there. All right, 5.53. There it is. So it does meet all of our requirements. Headline's a little weak, so I don't think it screams higher, but certainly something to switch to long. The rest of them are low or no volatility biotechs, which I won't even waste your time with unless until we start surfing around after the market opens, surfing for opportunities. All right, on the short side, we'll go ahead and put some shame on DraftKings here. Greedy management, that does not make me happy since it is a very large holding of mine, that they did this. But the stock's been on fire. It was up at 63. It's down at 61. It's got all kinds of volume based off of this move. Here it is off to the right, down 4% now. Here's your 16 million shares. There's a 32 million share. I don't know. Greedy, 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 and I don't like that. Now, I'm not selling, but I'm not gonna short into this. But that's all we really have for the short side on the for DraftKings. Let me look at AMC again. American Multi-Cinema. That's probably the last time I will ever say those words. We were into this short when it was going back bankrupt again. This was day one of the room, that number one short we had, and it was like what, 17R or something. Recently, this was what, beginning of September, it was north of 7 here. It's fallen like a rock since, so all the momentum is down. And then you have the big whatever that company was, Cineworld, 45,000. It says Mole's closure. I heard a hard closure headline earlier. Brings down curtain. There's your hard closure. So assuming that's a real thing. So you're at 465 is when it closed, down at 434. Could this fall? Oh yeah. It was down at 390 not too long ago. So it has room to the downside. So that's my top short. We shall see. So 6.67 is what I have written over here. It does have the volume. Let's double check. Not triggering there. So we shall see. All right. And then next one, DPW Holdings. This is another short. I don't know what they do. There we go. But it does have the volume, 226 down to 203. It's right here. Now, I do like this chart because I pulled it earlier, and I don't know why it's gapping down, but it certainly is set up really nice for a good 5 to 10 cent entry, and then it trips on down here and you're done for the day. So it's really good as far as meeting our criteria. So that will be our number 3. All right, another couple to take a look at for shorting, CBAT. Energy Tech, it has the volume, so a little higher price point. Previous close 313, 307. So again, this has some room to fall because it just came up out of the dollar land. So a lot of times that'll be profit taking. So we'll take a look at that. And then SCO is another name. It's an oil ETF. 18, it was up here at 1840, 1895, excuse me, down to 17 on no news. So falling like a rock there. And again, this chart has more room to run. All right, that's all I have out of my notes ahead of time. TDA won't let you use day trading power to buy it. Thanks, Bernard. That's interesting. So you can buy it with normal power, but you don't have your 4x power. Oh, put that. I'll call him later and ask like why, right? Because that's interesting. I have not seen that before. Thank you for bringing that up. All right, let's cycle through here. Then we'll get everything set up for the day. Apple in the green. I like it on big volume. Myocardia, we're not going to touch it. They got bought out by, I forget who, but I saw the headline. NEO up big. That's kind of sympathetic with XPEV that we're going to be in. Little bounce in the airlines. All right, Regeneron, we have that on our list. Nothing else is going up enough for the decliners. Again, we have the AMC and DPW to take a look at. 3 minutes to go. There's our XPEV, still 7.7, plenty of volume, so setting up perfectly for us. And that is it. All right, let's take it over to TD Ameritrade, and we are already set up. Same with CBAT, huh? So, okay, yep, CBAT, you can buy it long, but not with day trading power. Just confirm up the top that it says you have, PDT. I think you do because you trade off enough, but, just check that. And I will call them later and get back to you, Burner, on that question. So with $20 a share, you can still get a decent amount of shares. You just can't load up, which is what we're looking for. So XPEV on the left, again, we're looking at 50 cent all the way down to here, or 60 cent. We'll watch this open. If it holds more of a 20 cents, that would be ideal for the entry point. And let me get set up. I'm a Schwab, so we'll see if it lets me do it. There's the Schwab entry. All right, AMC, this is a short. Like this a little better, so I'll probably call this first while we wait to see what this does. This has got a lot of congestion there in the 20-cent range, so I don't think it's going to go screaming out of the gate, but this one might. This one might fall like a rock, so I will look to take that. And then DPW, we'll get into here and see that's kind of our third option there. All right, let me get set up for AMC and XPEV here. Bernard, did you have to try to take that trade, or did it give you that warning before you, while you were setting up your ticker? If you can answer that, that would be helpful for me. All right, there we go. I'm only set up for the short in AMC. All right, 30 seconds to go. Welcome to the On Time On Target trade of the day. You have 4 screens in front of you. These are the TD Ameritrade platforms that you're taking a look at. You have the SPY on the left. We're going to watch the overall market. We are gapping up over a couple hundred points on the Dow, so nice pop. I expect that to continue higher. XPEV is long, AMC is short, and DPW is short. So think long, short, short. There's the opening bell. Let's go. I'm looking at AMC short first, and I'm trying to get in here with a 10-cent stop or even lower. I'll call the exact stop, but let's go 420. If it hits 429, let's go 429, and we'll take it if it hits that on the downside. There it is. Well, went down to 428. We're in at 429. This is a short, so we'll put it here. I'm going to take the in here. This is south. I'm not in it yet personally, so wait for me. All right, and We need 429 up to 439. We need a 10-cent stop on this. All right, let me get in. All right, 427 is what I got for my price. So if you get in a little bit later, you have to adjust a little bit. So let's zoom here a little. So that's our short play, terrible arrow. Sorry about that. Let's see what XPEV is doing. The market is going higher, so that should help our long. So we need to clear this down to 1950. Back out just a little bit. Okay, solid buyer at 1950. So our stop will be at 1949 just because we want that buyer to save us from getting stopped out. But we need to wait for it to go up to, we'll use 1969. So it's going to need to break out of its range higher, if you will. And again, this will be a long. So we're already into AMC short. We're going to let that cook. If it hits the high of the day, 439, we're out. No big deal. We'll be down an R. For this, we're going to wait for it to go. 1969 is what we're looking for. Getting lost in my own. So here's what we're waiting for. We're going long, and it will be a 20-cent stop. So I'm putting a small tick right there just to give myself a reminder so I can go off. There it is. So you're into AMC or XPEV long. I know you can't get it with the buying power. You got a 20-cent stop in, so we're long. So I'm going to give you your arrow here. And here's the stop that we have in is down below the low of the day. So that's looking good. All right, 69. So it would be 89 is our first R. So up here. And if it hits more than that, then we will take a look. If you're not in it, like I'm not, I can't get in it here because it's already moved an R. So I will get better. All right, so there it's screaming higher. Finally broke out nicely. Let's tighten up this display a little bit. So hopefully, Burner, you got a piece of that going higher. All right, let's look at our short. We're in at 439. This is a 10-cent stop, 419. So down to 419 or so is the first R. That's not exactly in the right place, but we'll watch that hit that. All right, this is down 10%. I'm not going to take another trade because I like the two we're in, but we're going to certainly surf around and take a look at a few things along the way. It's already at 1062. That's basically where it closed. So no worries there. All right, let's see. 69, 89, 2009 would be our next one. So we got to let that go for a while. Let's take a look at one thing. I'm curious. I almost took LKNCY long this morning. See what they did. Oh, look at you. Making me mad now. Could have done that. So 350 up to 369. Again, a lot of momentum in this stock up to 370. Again, it was below $3 not too long ago, right? So what was that? Three trading days ago. So Friday, Thursday, Wednesday, Tuesday, it was down here in the 290s, kind of stuck. So almost $1 move there. So nice move up and lucking. All right, let's take a look at some other names I had on my list. CBAT was one we had looked at. This is a short. Kind of reversed, went up, didn't really do much. So let's look at the other. SCO was low volume. 1738, had a decent move down there. It's got the volume now. This would be super aggressive, but the way this is set up, you would take a trade, and it's almost at the 10, but basically you would take don't do this, but just to give you the mind of how you would take a delayed trade, is you would take it if it ever hits 1715, then you would take it short. You can't take it until it hits it because there could be a buyer here. So, all right. Let's see what else we can take a look at. Regeneron, see if it got the love from treating the president. It did. So it's 5% at the open. It's kind of a monster first bar there from 605. That's $15. Moving higher there nicely. No buying power with XPEV. Yep. Gotcha. Yeah, I'll have to ask. That's a good point. All right, looking off on another screen, check on our trades. Back down to even in XPEV, not worried. Back up to even in AMC. So kind of sitting even on both those trades. All right, let's see. Valero up 4%. I'm not going to touch that. Coal's up 3%. EPR down 6%. IQ up 2%. Look at IQ real quick, since we talked about that this morning already. Nice little pop up there. We'll look at YY since we're here, in case you just recently bought some of that. Up 1%, out of congestion nicely. And the other one was, let's see, Baidu. So Chinese stocks tend to be going up here. And then we'll look at Baba. Except for Alibaba, it's basically flat on the day, but it is kind of selling off. All right, so we are 7 minutes into the day. We are in this trade basically flat. We're in this trade basically flat. Let's go over to the quote monitor and check out everything else. Clickstream up 20%. So again, penny stock, there's Luckin up 11%. Go Luckin, go. Couple of psychedelic names, Nikola up, EV name, Tesla up, EV. Again, XPEV, the trade we're in, is also an EV name. Surprised we don't see NEO up there. There's NEO, 2.4%. So a lot of names in the green. Basically, the whole first page there up 1%. Markets as a whole, NASDAQ up 1%, S&P and Dow up 0.9. So really kind of holding nicely there. Let's take a look on the downside and see what we have for losers. DraftKings, losers, being greedy. I'd much rather see them buy back their stock like Apple does. CCX, again, that's the speculative that's going to be the speculative. Did I just make up a word? For Topgolf. And we haven't heard anything on that in a month. So that's been dead money. I got you. I'm not going to wait forever, but I'm going to wait a little bit longer. So be patient. Thank you. LCA, Duke Energy, SPTLs, Treasuries. Asana, that's a name we've been looking at, so it's down again. So let's find our sister PLTR. I don't see it in the red list. Could it be possibly getting some love? This was Palantir, the data play. Opened back here at, let's see, this is Friday, this is Wednesday. Hit the high, opened at 10. If you remember the entry there, there's your entry, popped up. I bought more here thinking it was going to the moon. It did not. It reversed, came back down here. It's still kind of finding itself. So 932. So what's even down here at, here was the close. So 920 is the even on the day. So I don't know, we'll keep an eye on it. I think it does face some challenges while the shareholders of Palantir, the original company, sells their shares on the open market and releases more of the float. So we'll see. All right, but overall, not too many names in the red. Let's go back to the green. Luckin 11%. I like it. Let's check our trades. All right, it appears XPEV is out. So this one busted out the bottom. It went below that 1950. So we're dead in the water on XPEV. So this is -1. That did not work. So -1 on this trade. Getting fancy. That's a 1. All right, -1 R in that trade. So again, R is your risk unit. If you risked $100, you're down 100. However, in this trade, you are exactly up 1 R. So yeah, Luckin up 10%. Just talked about that Predator. Like it, right? A lot of love in Luckin lately. Should be loving. Okay. Terrible analogy. I got it. So basically on our trade, you're even for the day. If you kill it, if you're worried about this, I think AMC sells off throughout the day. I also think the market's a little bit optimistic being up 1% here. Is it pricing in stimulus? Well, it should be pricing in petty arguments, right? Because that's what it's going to be for stimulus all week. So let this go. Your 3R point. So we're at 29.1909 and 399. You could put it at 4 or 401 if you think everybody else is at 4 for your stop, but that's one I wouldn't have any trouble holding on throughout the day. All right, we'll come out of that mode. I do want to show you something, and I again will update our stats for how the AMC trade ended up and show you that tomorrow morning. All right, let's come down to the question of the day is what is the dividend payout ratio? And what does it tell you? So we'll start here. Okay, so when companies pay out a dividend, so you think, I'm trying to think of an analogy for the around the house. Your mortgage payment. Most people have one. You are obligated to pay that out every month, right? Well, what if you don't have it? Well, then you figure it out, right? You may borrow money on a credit card or something to pay out the mortgage, but you're paying the mortgage because you contract. You said you would. Dividend is ultimately at the discretion of management. So think board of directors management, not C-suite, but boards. Boards decide that. And again, boards generally are comprised of the CEO and chairman, as well as smart people. Well, I shouldn't say necessarily smart, successful people from other companies. So like, the Apple CEO might sit on the Disney board. So anyhow, renowned names across industry sitting on boards. So they're supposed to be, adults, if you will. So when you run into, adults decide what the dividend's going to pay out. And again, they don't set a yield, they set an amount. So if there's 1 million shares out and we want to set a 5-cent dividend, that means you have to pay 5 cents for each share of 1 million. You do the math. And that's what has to go out in payments. Again, if the money physically goes to either, like for us, TD, Ameritrade, or Schwab, it goes to the broker, and then the brokerage, they cut them one check for how many shares they have, and then the brokerage distributes it out to us. Well, when you think of how much do they have to pay out their dividend ratio, that's where this payout ratio comes in. It's a proportion of earnings paid out as dividends to shareholders. It's typically expressed as a percentage. So again, if you have 4 cents earnings per share and you pay a dividend of 5 cents earnings per share, that would be a dividend payout of 125%, because you have 100% is 4, and then you're paying out an extra penny. If you have a 4 cent earnings per share and you pay out 3 cents per share, that would be a 75% payout ratio. So obviously you can tell 100 is like the kind of magic number, right? If they're paying out more than they're bringing in, well, how long can you do that? Well, in business, you can do it short term for a while, but you can't do it forever, right? So that's what you need to take a look at. So you get down here into the math. There's your payout ratio, dividends paid over net income. Here's a earnings per share, retention ratio, a little bit different of a payout ratio. So those are, and then what does it tell you? Level of maturity. Yeah, I'd believe that. So let me show you some examples. So let's go to the bad example. Some companies refuse to cut their dividend. So let's look at a company that does cut their dividend. Ford, cut their dividend, bam, to 0. Try to save the stock. Mature thing to do. Let's look at AT&T, who said, we would just rather go under and lose all your money than not pay you the cents we owe you every quarter. So their dividend, they pay $2.08 a share for AT&T. All right. So it makes earnings per share $1.64. Problemo, right? So where is this guy? It's right here. If you can see the highlight there, the payout ratio, it's under payout in the fourth column over next to the bottom, 125%. So how long can they do that? Not forever. right? So that is a warning sign. So they're like, well, what if the stock goes back up to 36? And I refer you to this number doesn't include stock price. It includes this number, what's the dividend, what's the earnings, and what's the payout ratio. The stock could double. That doesn't change this math at all. It has nothing to do with stock price. What people get caught up in, and wrongly so, I should say incorrectly so, to be more correct with my English, is the dividend percent. And they're like, well, I like it when the stock goes down because then I make more yield on my money. And at that point, I either say, sir, ma'am, you are an idiot, or I don't say anything at all because it's not worth my time. So if you are cheering for the stock to go down so you can make more money on yield, you have lost your ability to do math in public because you have a certain number of shares and your certain number of shares pays those shares times this amount, and that's what you get your check for. Okay, that's it. Now, if you're going to go buy something, I can buy the argument. But if you think, hey, I just hope for it to goes down, well, if you want to buy more, I mean, that's a good point. But if I have 100,000 shares of AT&T and I'm not cheering for it to go down to buy more. No, I'm not. I'm in it to live off the income, and the income is going to come in. But this is a warning sign. Now, AT&T's management has clearly said, and if you think this is a sign of strength, you are insane, that we would rather go bankrupt than cut the dividend. It's like, well, I kind of like that because I like the dividend. But then I'm like, what you say about you'd rather go bankrupt? That's not like an adult thing to do. So they're in a problem. Yeah, so there you go. So Predator's bringing up a good point in the chat, which there's companies out there like, if you have your mortgage through this guy, what I can't type LCNB, you can get into a true arbitrage situation to where this company pays out a 5% dividend. So if you have a mortgage from them through that you pay 3.5% on, you can do this all day, every day, because the company that you're loaning money from is now turning around and paying you that more than that as a stockholder. So you sir have learned arbitrage and are winning at that. So then you look at, okay, what's the payout? And you're like, okay, 46%, nice and safe, right? So do I look at these if I'm designing a portfolio where somebody transitions their account to me and have $1 million and they say, Steve, I need to live off 50K a year. Design this for me because my Edward Jones guy won't give me the time of day to do that. And I go, I'll do it for you. I'll pull out the old Excel spreadsheet. These are exactly the things I'm looking at for safety in these names. Another company out there, let's look at a scary company. BP. So I think they cut their dividend in half, but they're still paying payout. Don't even bother with one because they're losing $6 per share and they're still paying out $1.26. You don't think there's time to wake up and smell the coffee? That is how you get your stock to go to 17 when everything else is on a V-shaped recovery. So it should be here, or at least stop the bleeding like Ford did and be up at 30s. It's like, nope, we're going to stick to our guns because we know what we're doing into the ground. So good on you, BP. You do you, I guess. All right, and let's look at a stalwart name that pays a little bit of a dividend. So you look at Apple. Apple doesn't pay you much, but they pay you enough, especially if you own a ton of it, which you should. 82, cash per share dividend. There it is, 82 cents. That's quarterly, by the way, or that's annually. So you're getting, what's that, 20.5 cents per quarter. But here's their payout ratio, 24%. That's healthy. That's like, ooh, smart leadership. Anyhow, that's enough on the dividend payout ratio. Let's go back up to the big board. We'll close out for the day. I owe you guys an answer tomorrow from TD Ameritrade on why, the question that you asked, Burner. So I owe everybody that answer. See what they say. And then here's our trades. We busted out of XP EV. We're -1. We are 419, 409. We're exactly at 2R. So we're at a +2 right here. And again, holding for another. Hey, I'm getting better. We're holding for another dime out of this thing to get it down to $3.99. You can go to 401 because it's a hard dollar amount.